She blazes through this town like a savage storm. She was raised the preacher's firstborn.
She just said,
"You're on."
Good morning.
Morning, Johnson County.
Good morning, ladies.
Hold on. Let's just turn that down. Got it.
Morning, everybody.
Last night.
Yeah, our new tabletop is here. Isn't that nice?
Oh, shoot, where's my
Can you ladies hear me?
Our new tabletop is so nice. Thanks, Will Scalaney. I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are y'all doing? Yeah, there was a...
Yeah.
Good morning, Johnson County. I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed and Sarah Reeves, and Brianna Reeves Parkhill is back at the table, and she gets to join us at a new table.
Yes.
Can you guys hear me okay?
You're a little quiet.
Yeah.
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah.
You can have her coffee.
Oh, I don't drink coffee, but
I don't
move it out
either.
of your way.
I mean, I do.
Oh, you made my coffee because I
mean-
typoed and said I was coming in instead of on.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I apologize. That was my typos.
You're
this morning.
fired.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I'm leaving. So good morning, guys. It's a Thankful Thursday here on JOCO Community Radio. Can't come this way right now.
Wait, what do I do with this?
Go talk to your dad. I'm on the radio.
Patrick. Come on air with us.
He can't hear you. I have earbuds in.
Oh.
Yeah, getting kids onto their adulting way, right?
Right.
But good morning. It's kind of a yucky day out so far here in Johnson County. It's just kind of drizzly. Is it drizzly in town?
Yeah, it's wet.
Yeah, it's like misty, misty gross.
Everything's wet, but it's not like actively raining.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. Wow, this went dark really, really fast this morning. Good thing I'm drinking out of my cup.
Sorry for
Can
having.
you read it?
Sorry for having great tits and correct
and
opinions on everything. Hey, I talked about that yesterday, like friend of mine,
Being correct. Your
friend of mine saying, coming up to me and just, saying, well, you were right. I was like, I mean, I'm okay being wrong. I can accept when I'm wrong, but it just doesn't happen very often.
Right? There you go. You're definite.
That's right. You're definite.
Well, it's currently 57. It's definitely a little foggy here and there. High of 64 today. So it's just going to be kind of be yucky today. Gloomy. Weather-wise, anyways. Like, how your attitude affects that.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I can handle like a day of it
in your
or
body.
2 days of it, but after the third day of weather like this, I'm like, okay, I need sunshine and I need it now.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, this weather's brought out. I mean, I just killed 2 mosquitoes in my bathroom.
Oh,
It's November 30th and we're killing mosquitoes.
Yeah.
We are in Texas.
Just kind of crazy. But do grab an umbrella today because there are thunderstorms possible later in the afternoon. So, so keep yourself protected. I'm feeling a lot better today. I will definitely be back on air in studio next week.
Well, I mean, I'm so glad you didn't bring your germs.
Yeah, I mean, I just tried to. Now I snuck in, and that was to receive that new tabletop.
Yeah,
it's
made by the.
Isn't
it pretty? Made by the amazing William Sclafani, who's a fireman. So we appreciate his service, of course, and we appreciate his incredible talent that he literally brought to the table for us. So, but isn't it beautiful? And
it is very pretty.
And now I have to, finish the base this weekend and get it all matching. But very grateful for him. When when he met me in studio yesterday, I asked him, I said, did you have a lot of calls last night? He was kind of tired. He was like, it was late night. I came right from the station to deliver this to you. And so he'd been up all night. And I was like, all right, well, what kind of calls are you getting? Or, how busy are you? And he said, I don't know how many calls we had before midnight, but I had 4 calls after midnight. And so I asked, okay, well,
Oh
like
gosh.
what kind of calls are you getting the majority of right now? I said, are you getting Christmas trees on fire yet? And he goes, no, most of it right now is gas. So people turning their heaters on for the first time and not double checking. And he said one of the calls, it's just it's like one of those things where it's kind of surprising for like for him to show up on a call, but then for something like this, and then for me to hear it too is just kind of so. A couple called in and said, we can't get our fire alarms to stop beeping at us, or we get it to turn off and then it turns right back on. And so they go out there and their fire alarm / CO2
I was thinking that.
alarms.
Mhm.
And so the people didn't realize, hey, this is doing, because a lot of people will go and take the batteries out and turn that off.
Right.
Or some of the CO2 monitors, like I have ones that plug in. And on top of what's like it built into my fire alarms. And so a lot of people go unplug them or they'll take the batteries out, not realizing your alarm's not broken. It's your CO2 monitor going off. He said their house was filled with CO2.
Oh,
Wow.
He said as soon as they opened the door, they could smell the gas, and they got the people out. But
oh my God.
check your stuff. I mean, it's important, especially after you're turning them on for the first time, to make sure you don't have any leaks so that everything's working properly. And if you don't have CO2 monitors, to make sure that you get CO2 monitors. And
Battery.
you can get it's a triple monitor alarm that goes, that installs now. So super duper easy to keep yourself alive and keep your family safe. And just know that if they're going off, there's a reason that they're going off. So, and gas sometimes for people is not, it's not detectable for some people, especially if you can't smell.
Mhm.
And I'll say probably post-COVID is even worse because there's a lot of people who never got their smell back.
Right.
Yeah, mine's limited.
Mhm.
Yours is limited.
Yep.
It never affected my smell and it never affected my taste. And I'm like a super smeller. I am. It's a thing. No, it's a thing.
It
really
is a
is
thing.
It is a thing. And I'll ask Todd all the time. I'm like, I was standing in the kitchen. I'm like, I smell gas. I smell gas right now. And I don't know where it's coming from. And so, it just doesn't hurt to double check everything.
Right.
Anywho, so it's Thankful Thursday.
Thankful
So what are you
Thursday.
thankful for?
Thursday. I am thankful for a 1 p.m. meeting with a lady to help me with my entrepreneurship stuff that I met at Spark a couple weeks ago.
Awesome.
That's good.
Awesome.
She's a cool lady.
That's at Spark
Well, at our
At
our
launch.
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
him-
well,
I
it was
saw
the
him
Spark launch, but it was the
Spark Yard Connection
Mm.
it was
merge
yeah.
announcement.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
And where is that leading? Like
Or
what's
Nona?
happening there?
I guess that I'm not like falling completely apart since my body hurt this morning. This weather and all the painting, I
Yeah.
think, and my age and some of my body parts were really hurting this morning. So I was moving slow, but I'm up and moving because I'm
Doing a
up.
great job, by the way.
Yep.
Oh, you think they look good? Sarah and
You're
I,
getting there.
Sarah helped.
They
Hey,
need another coat. For
Yeah,
sure.
they do.
we weren't sure the paint was really like taking in the color. I mean,
Like it was like absorbing in or
Yeah.
something. It was weird.
I haven't been back there since I came in this morning, so they might look better, but they didn't.
They're,
I was concerned how they were
definitely
going to
need another
look.
coat,
So
but we're getting there.
yeah,
Got other
Hopefully
options.
we'll
I got
have
other
it done before the
ideas.
carpet cleaning.
I don't know if we're
happens.
gonna have it done before the carpet cleaning guy gets here.
What
Is
time
he
it
supposed to be
coming?
here today?
3.
Remember?
Mm.
Yeah, I'm just telling you. I don't know if it's gonna. I can tell you the big one will not probably be done unless we all three tackle it and some people can't because
Well, I may have
I
to
had meetings
reschedule him
today.
anyway. I may
Huh?
have to reschedule him anyway because
All right.
I wasn't thinking about show schedule. So anyway, so
Oh yeah, yeah.
Bree,
We have a 3 o'clock show.
no, we have a 4 o'clock.
But they're
Oh yeah,
coming in at
yeah.
3, so
Yeah.
makes it difficult.
Bree, what are you thankful for?
Bree's thankful for her meeting.
Yeah, my meeting.
She
at
said
one
it.
with-
Sarah hasn't.
Yeah, Sarah
Um,
needs to say.
I'm thankful for so many things. Like I'm so drawing of like, but I'm so thankful for everything. I don't know. It's just been. I'm glad to be home and try to regroup from a long holiday week. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to get back in the swing of things.
Okay. Routine. You're ready for routine again.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, so Bree,
Yes.
when you said what you were thankful for, like you sounded like your sister, and I thought it was your sister.
That's so
I
funny.
got like super confused and was like, wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Which connection? All right. So,
Okay.
all right. Well, I guess we're going to have to elaborate on that later on.
Karen
right?
Perkins.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. She's got some great ideas. Yeah. She's thrown
Sup-
some very good ideas. I'm glad you're already meeting with her.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
I want to meet with Tamara first before I move forward on my situation.
So let's talk about that godly thing.
How yeah,
Oh.
let's
Do
finish
Do we
talking about
know? Do we know about it now?
We know more.
Well, I mean,
he definitely knows more than we did.
yeah. So,
Let's get
so a
into
few weeks ago, I guess some parents took some matters into their own hands about a mom in Godly who got involved in several volunteer groups that are within the school district. A couple of them were actually ones that she was appointed onto by the superintendent of schools, Mr. Deere. And
quick question. How did they
Yeah.
find out that she was a prostitute?
well, I don't
I
think
mean,
it was. I don't think it was a giant secret.
I thought she was advertising on her Facebook. Too.
Yes, she
Oh.
was. I don't know if it was
Yeah, I
Facebook,
think-
but I know that there
I
was
think
advertisement
somewhere
somewhere. Hold. Okay, I know that there was advertisement somewhere, and that she was still advertising as an escort, not as a prostitute, but as an escort. And there were some concerns, I guess, raised. I don't know exactly. I don't recall exactly how the information surfaced.
You know how people talk.
Well, I was
That
just
cre-
curious. Like, is this kind of like one of those Jesus in the sand thing? You know,
Well,
like
no,
starts writing words.
Joe Blow,
You know, first one that
saw her
didn't-
and
okay,
made a
yeah.
comment, and then it got around,
Yeah.
and so heard about
Like,
it,
well,
and then
how
they
did
checked
you
into
find out
it,
she was
and
a
you know,
prostitute? Were
because
you
it's Joe
looking for a-
Blow.
Were you
I can't hear when you're both talking
were you
at the
looking
same time.
for a prostitute? You know, like,
Well, he
or did you
probably was.
find one and it was her? So where are you at?
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's probably someone in the towns was
Looking.
Mhm.
and then in that,
Said, "Oh, I know this person. How do I know them?"
oh wow, and then
You know what? Here's the thing. It doesn't
You
really
know.
matter how. Let's just go there. It doesn't really matter how they came across this information, but
It
it
was
was
good
uncovered.
conversation.
There was some concerned parents, and they went looking for the information, and
we found it.
she had, yeah. So she had, I guess, like, whatever. The information was out there. It was found, and she was advertising online as a local escort with several different sites, and they were under a different persona, but they were able to connect the dots because this persona was also named in her actual prosecution as a prostitute from back in 2016. She was also convicted in 2012. And so that's how they tied the two names together and realized that she was still active on her escort listings
Mhm.
even just a month ago. But that just kind of brought some things to light. And the basic issue isn't about the fact that this woman is a current escort or was an escort or was prosecuted at one point.
The
as a
problem is
prostitute.
Godly is not taking care of their stuff.
The issue is they're supposed to do background checks for certain committee members, and it was not done. And they admitted to that. They admitted that the background check was not done for her. That's one major thing, and that was a red flag for the parents who were uncovering this information.
Mhm.
And so, if they're missing a background check on this woman who's just a
Who
committee member, how many other background checks have they missed?
Yeah.
And do we have other people working within that school district? And how many other holes are there in other school districts where these background checks are happening or not happening? And do we have predators in our schools? So it's a bigger, the issue is much bigger than saying, oh, this girl was a prostitute and we're going to judge her on her transgressions. I mean, look, people change and grow and whatever. I mean, her sins and that's her deal. The issue lies and the problem is with the school district not doing their job. On top of that, 2 weeks prior then to this news becoming public, Superintendent Deere was notified by a school board member about this issue
In writing,
in
correct?
writing and in person,
And
and
they
he
didn't.
ignored it.
Yeah.
He ignored it. So questions are, why did he ignore it? Why did he ignore this information? Why did he not immediately remove the parent in question like
From
you would do
the
with a
sex
teacher?
education class or whatever that was. Like,
Well, you
I
have
mean, I guess she's experienced, but that's probably
I'm
not
trying to figure out why she's
appropriate.
teaching that anyway.
she's not teaching.
What was she
No.
doing
Well, she
in
was
the
a
sex
part of
ed
the
stuff?
She's on a committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's on multiple committees. She's on the
Let's put that.
PTA.
Yeah, I guess so.
She's got experience. It's it's fine.
Well, that's okay.
That's
So
probably
that
why
is
I'm
kind of some of the the rabbit trail funny comments that were made on the Facebook post of the News 4 reporting of it. Is that there was a lot of funny innuendos that people couldn't help. Well, she's experienced. Who better than to help build a sex ed curriculum? And I mean, some of that isn't exactly true, but was she offering their information? It doesn't matter. The issue goes back to the school district did not do their job in protecting the children in this case. And not to say that she's a predator, because that's not the accusation anyway.
Right.
It's just saying that if they drop the ball on this one, how many other balls have they dropped
Right.
on background checks
It could be
and keeping our children safe? And why did the superintendent ignore the information when it was given to him?
Right.
Typically, so when you have a student accusation of sexual misconduct of a teacher, the teacher is typically removed with pay and suspended while they do an investigation. Superintendent Deere didn't do that. And this is where our school districts got really, really protective of our children and allowing parents inside the schools, after we've had different shootings and other things that have happened. And it's to make sure that our children are safe and we know who's in there at all times.
Mm-hmm.
And so that wasn't done appropriately. Ketcherside is her name. That's her last name. She sat on a school health advisory council called SHAC meeting in October, which the state requires by law for school districts to have. The councils are in place to provide recommendations to school boards on a wide range of health education protocols for students, like appropriate grade levels and curriculum for instruction regarding sex trafficking. Now, when you have someone who's worked in the sex industry, such as this woman, I would like to know on which side, being that she's still a registered escort, which is legal in Texas, being a registered escort. Escorts are legal because they're considered companionship unless they are paid for sex.
Right.
So, so this is different, right? I mean, it's different, but I'd like to know which side was she on? Where was she? How was she adding information to maybe the sex trafficking information from her experience as a prostitute?
Yeah. Was it beneficial? Like, are
was
we
it beneficial? Right. Was to say, look, this is what you need to avoid. This is what you need to. I've been here. I've been in this place. This is how I got wrapped into it. And not that every prostitute goes, ends up in that situation through a trafficking situation, but there could have been some added value to it. There just should have been transparency in her
Right. It's kind of like
sharing that information.
recruiting criminals to counsel kids, like
Right.
the kids that misbehave, like
Mhm.
this is what happens when you do this and this and this, like you don't want to do what I did. You don't want to end up where I'm at, that sort of thing. Like I get that for sure. That's,
Well, this is interesting.
those are definitely utilized opportunities for many different factors.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the school district said, Godly ISD said that the district told Fox 4 that each member of the shack was appointed by the school board. And although Ketcherside was listed as a member of the shack online and was seen on video sitting at the meeting table, the district said it was a mistake and that she did not go through the approval process. Well, when did they say that was a mistake? You didn't say that was a mistake when it was first brought to Superintendent Deere's attention.
Right.
He didn't respond back and go, oh my gosh, this was an oversight. I'll call her immediately and take care of this. So that didn't happen, right? He ignored it for 2 weeks. And so there's a lot of questions there. What other reason did he have to ignore it? Is she a personal friend?
Right.
Or,
Is she a personal friend?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, no accusations. It's just to say what.
Right.
But I mean, it could be
something else missing there.
She's providing for her children, like I can't take her work away from her, like.
Well, she's married. And this is at least for the husband, it's his second marriage. He has children in the school district. And at the time that she was convicted in 2016 of prostitution, and mind you, prostitution in the state of Texas for a female is a misdemeanor. If you are a male prostitute in the state of Texas, it's a felony.
Yeah. Where you
That's
just looked at like, what? Yeah.
Right. So just a little interesting tidbits to drop there. But in 2016, when she was convicted, she was also deemed not to allowed to have certain children in her home. And so there's
so now she can just be around public children.
I'm like certain
right.
Certain children.
Yeah.
So
to me, that's still considered being banned from children. And so why was she there?
Right.
I don't care if she wasn't around the children. She was working with communities that were working with children.
All right. Well, hold that thought, guys. We'll talk a little bit more about this when we come back from break. Stay with us.
Abnormal realities.
I love my mom.
Yep. She sent me a message.
My mom did?
Yeah, Wednesday night. And she invited me over tomorrow night to watch Titanic and share a bowl of popcorn. And I accepted.
You did?
Yep.
That'd be fun.
And she calls it Chaps Only Night. Every Saturday night.
Look.
Miss Dixie,
Look,
how you doing? He said, it's my mom, bro. All right, it's my mom.
I want to hear the answer to the Titanic and popcorn. Go ahead, Mom. What's up?
Oh!
Hi, boys. I just
Mom.
wanted to ask Rocky if he wanted butter on that popcorn or not.
I would rather have the butter somewhere else, but if popcorn's the only place I can have it, I'll take it.
Jeez,
Hey,
dude.
nobody says I can't roll around in it for a little bit.
All right, Mom.
That is my
Love you.
girl. I love you,
Mom.
Dixie.
Abnormal realities
My mom. Love you.
Dixie.
Bye. I love you too.
with Ron and Rocky. Weekdays, 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on JOCO Community Radio.
Holy crap.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
JOCO Community Radio. Listen live at tunein.com.
Good morning, and we're back for the second
Here.
half of JOCO Community Radio. JOCO vibes. I'll let you read.
She didn't have it out. Welcome back to the second half of JOCO Vibes. JOCO Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneIn.JOCO.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch. And the station app is also available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store. Check out our lineup and more at JOCOCommunityRadio.com. This episode and more is brought to you by Next Level Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-TEX-HAIL. That is 844-839-4245. I'm not even looking at her. Be sure to address your arms and more at the Tiffy.com.
Tiffany.
You guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. It wasn't bouncing at first, and I swapped headphones. So, can you hear me better?
It kind of sounds like you're echoing a little now, but it could be. Yeah,
Okay.
see, I get that background when you're not talking.
Well, very weird. All right. Well, welcome back to the second half of JOCO Vibes here on JOCO Community Radio. I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed, Sarah Reeves, and Brianna Parkhill. Wait, I said Brianna. Did you even catch me earlier? I said Brianna Parkhill Reeves. And
No, you said Brianna Reeves Parkhill.
I did? Okay. All right. I thought I said it the wrong way before. So.
It's okay.
All right. Well, before we went to break, we were just discussing a little more in detail about some of this issue going on in Godly ISD, and if you hadn't noticed and if you hadn't been paying attention, Godly in itself, the ISD and the city of Godly it's been bigger news over this past year, just with everything that's gone down with their city council, their city manager, their mayor, and
A lot of
now
things have come to
elections.
light.
Godly ISD with their failed bond, which they're looking to put through a new one as well, and it seems to be that the entire town is kind of warring, and unfortunately, a lot of people are just being quiet about it. It's we don't want to rock the boat.
Well, I think that part of
happens
this
a lot
is
here too.
everything is being discovered right now in Godly because of the influx of new people, like new citizens of the Godly area and Godly ISD children. It used to be so small, and now they're building hundreds of houses out there.
Well, I think
And
there's
it's
Thousands. They're building thousands of houses.
so fast.
And
you
I
have
think a lot of people are putting forth the effort of looking into information and actually really standing firm.
Well, and trying to decide whether or
Also.
not they want their children to go there or if they want to transfer their kids to a larger ISD like Josh.
Well, it's not even the larger part. It's
Thing in
more.
Joshua, too.
There's an influx in the state of Texas right now where public school attendance or public school enrollment is down. We went through the decrease, right after COVID, and then everybody went back to school. A lot didn't, and then those numbers are on the decline, and the trends are showing that they're going to continue being on a decline here in the state. Now, that's not necessarily just because people are pulling their kids out of public school and putting them into private school. It also has to do with there's been less births, right? So there's a lot of factors in there, but a big factor that is happening is, look, for instance, let me kind of backtrack a little bit. One of the women who's been involved as a whistleblower in all this information in Godly ISD is a woman named Mary Lowe, and she's part of Parents' Rights and Education. And so some of the comments, public comments that I've seen on Facebook attacking Kayla Lane, who's one of the board members, who I applaud, by the way, because that is her job as a board member. It's not to get in line and to make the superintendent happy and to agree with everybody in the boardroom. It's about being a voice for the people and the students and protecting our rights as taxpayers and parents, because we own our school districts, right?
Mhm.
So the Parents' Rights in Education is an organization that allows parents from across an area or the state, because many states have their own Parents' Rights in Education. It's a very large organization. And so we as parents and taxpayers get to come together in one organization because there's powers and we're more powerful together to get our rights and our voices heard. And so Mary has every right, and I applaud her for what she's doing within her organization to bring these things to light in hopes to get people to participate, one, in voting, because our voting numbers in Texas suck, especially on these local elections, and the school boards know it. Our local cities know it, that these are our worst attending votes, right? That's why they push to make sure that they're not in conjunction with a national election. We saw that happen in Burleson.
Mhm.
So, for instance, but some of the information that was actually uncovered by Ms. Lowe was using LexisNexis, and they tied Ketcherside's email address and matched them with another email address under a no name of Lola Bree, which was on one of the escort sites. So again, there's an affidavit. She was convicted in 2012 and 2016, and also known as Lola Bree. So that's where they tied all of it together with this person. And so, at the end of this article, the Godly ISD spokesperson did say, it was a lack of oversight. We did not do a background check. This was lost somewhere in the mix. It just did not get done. The whistleblowers, their biggest thing too is that we have a much bigger problem on a state level, not just the local levels, of what is required in a background check in order to say someone can or cannot be involved in student committees, school committees, becoming a teacher or employee of a school district. Misdemeanors don't show up on background checks, on your typical background check. And so it's important that when you hand someone over a form that says, were you ever convicted of, have you ever been arrested? Yes. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? No. Have you ever been convicted, right? It doesn't break it out enough in detail to say, okay, like a school bus driver, if they've been convicted of a DUI, most likely they're not going to get hired as a bus driver. And so we have to look at what crimes has someone been convicted of, and does it fit the mark of saying, no, they cannot be involved in student committees. They cannot be involved in creating curriculum for our students, and or having an opportunity to influence someone else's child in a conversation about sex education or who knows what. I mean, isn't that kind of what we went through in our school districts when they stopped allowing parents to sit at the same lunch tables with other kids? I don't necessarily agree with that, but when in hindsight, when you really start to think about that,
Hey, Tiffany.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to me. I'm a real estate agent about to go get my broker's license, and we're required to go to a secondary location and get a set of fingerprints done before we get our license. The state does the background check prior to through TREC, which is the organization. It's to protect consumers from fraudulent people being involved in the real estate transaction industry as a whole. And if we can do that for real estate, tell me why it is we're not doing that at a state level for those that would be able to teach in our ISDs. I don't understand relying on a small ISD in the middle of nowhere to make that decision point when it's something that is that coherent to the state.
Well, this is some of what we covered yesterday. Now, first of all, she wasn't a teacher. Just to remind everybody, she was not hired as a teacher.
But
She was appointed onto committees. It's not like she just showed up at Shack one day and sat down at the table and said, "I'm just going to scoot in here like I should be here." I mean, somebody's got to be checking off the P's and Q's when it comes to our school districts and committees, and that's the issue. It's not the woman. The issue is this wasn't being done, and why?
Right.
And why, when the superintendent of Godly ISD was informed of this in writing, of which we have copies of all of it, why did he not address it? Why did he not remove this woman immediately and go, we're going to set you off to the side until I can uncover the what's actually happened here and if you belong on this committee, on these committees or not? But he didn't do that. He just didn't respond at all. That's not acceptable.
I think that's
That
kind
is-
of where Jason's going, and he's saying
Yeah.
it shouldn't be at the super. It shouldn't be
Shouldn't
at
be
that
with
school
there
level.
needs to be a consensus on where those people go that are
Mhm.
outside. We talk all the time personally, I know, and I think on the radio station a lot about having a system of checks and balances, whether it's the good old boy network or if it's this situation. I don't think there was any ill-conceived notion that they were putting her on there with knowledge. I don't think anyone's saying that, but what we need to understand is that
There should have been something guarding that already.
Right.
well, because
Right.
Somebody's personal.
Exactly.
I mean, I had to go get a
exactly.
background check, a fingerprint that I've already had in Texas, where I had to go to another location
Right.
for my insurance
Right.
adjusting. For Florida, on top of the one I already had here in Texas, I had to go to a specific place so I could get my Florida fingerprint license.
I think it's
And
just
I'm
that
never even
system
going to
of
work
checks and
personally
balances.
in Florida. I'm just going to be working remote.
But
But
how?
still,
I mean, and knowing what I know now, because I got to be honest with you, Tiffany, the national news article that I read was that she was a teacher. So I thank you for clarifying that, because I really don't think this is the ISD's fault. And I guess the question becomes, how deep are we required to go? And should this even be national news if she wasn't a teacher and they didn't know any better?
Okay, so we have a known convicted prostitute sitting on the sex education curriculum board.
that's
not a concern for you?
superintendent ignored after 2-week notice.
Well, the ignored part is a problem.
Yes.
Right. So that is on the
known.
ISD.
So
He's-
at that point, once they have knowledge of that, that's a problem.
And that's
Right. He
why
had knowledge for
more
2
national.
weeks before he did anything. 2
Okay,
weeks.
so my question is, Tiffany, and I'm just being the person on the other side of this, is
Always.
what are they doing? I'm sorry, it's just who I am. So, and maybe that's my whole goal of
No,
being here.
that's right.
But to ask the question, what was he doing during those 2 weeks? Because I can tell
Was
you,
he doing personal investigation?
yeah, were they trying to
Mhm.
verify everything prior to, before they made an assumption, or were they covering it up? And I can't say one way or the other because I wasn't there and I don't know the full story, obviously. But I just think sometimes we hastily say what could have been, what should have been done, and not let things work themselves out. A lot of times it's 6 months to a year before we really
Yeah,
find out
but-
what the truth is.
But what do they do with a teacher if something
Absolutely, I agree.
Right.
She should have been put on
Nothing was
administrative
done.
leave or
nothing
some sort
was
of
done.
leave.
It was like ignored.
But
So that's I
but
think
do
the
you
bigger
know
issue.
that whether or not they went to her and said, "Hey, are these allegations true?"
Yeah. Or did they
he did not respond.
after a committee meeting until like
I'm not talking
were
about
they
the
even-
response to the people who are making the accusation. I'm asking, did they go to the teacher immediately or to the person who was on the board immediately,
Mhm.
whatever
Right.
her name is, and say, "What are these accusations
Well,
true?"
and, if the committee doesn't meet all the time, maybe they were waiting until before the next committee meeting.
Sometimes they
you
have
know.
to need to have a committee emergency.
I'm going to go with this. You have a school board for a reason. Okay. The school board is there to oversee what the superintendent's doing. It's not just to support the superintendent. It's to oversee on behalf of the taxpayers, the students, and the parents.
100%.
You are there to oversee what the superintendent's doing. That superintendent, when he received the information from a board member, should have called an emergency board meeting,
I agree.
Yeah.
gotten together, had an executive session, and discussed the issue immediately, like they would do if it were a teacher with an accusation, to say, look, this is what was brought to my attention. He did not do that.
And
That is a
I
fact.
agree completely.
He
And
did not do that.
That's absolutely
He
correct.
did not do his job.
And we got Michael Oliver on here saying, he verified the truth in less than 2 days through many sources. I've seen him before, and he's very active and godly.
Do they have an
And-
attorney that they have to go through to get that information? The first thing I agree, Tiffany, should he have done? He should have immediately called an emergency executive session
Right.
immediately, and then from
Look,
there, contact the attorney on how to respond. If he didn't do those things and he sat around with that information, buddy, I hate to say it, but it's going to be a hard road coming out of that.
Right.
Well, here's the thing, and this is important for and as these things are coming to light within each of these different school districts, I urge people to go. There is a website, I don't remember it offhand, but we can post it, where you can go and look at a comparison of every school district within, let's just say, Johnson County, our interest, right, our current interest, every school district in Johnson County, and you can see how much they're spending with their lawyers in legal fees on an annual basis, and you can see who's spending more, who's spending less, that type of thing. Okay, that's an issue, that's sidebar, that I won't get into the details on as to why that's important, but it is important. So because every school district has an in-house attorney, they have legal, they have an attorney in-house, and then they have outside counsel.
Right.
And then some of them actually, they have that as a service provided through TASB if they're a TASB member. Okay, so they're spending a lot of money on legal fees, and
Well,
first
you
of all,
would think these guys would learn to stop doing this hide and grab stuff. Loudoun County up in Virginia, boy, they have if they haven't learned a lesson, I don't know if anybody ever will. But you have to go through those processes that you're talking about, Tiffany. And I think it brings up a really good point that you're talking about, which is we need better communication and knowing what that communication is. If these small ISDs, if they can't handle this type of pressure, do they need to exist? Do they need do they need to combine some of these ISDs under a larger umbrella, to be honest with you?
That's actually a great, so this is where school districts know that they can get away with things. And superintendents are trained on this by TASB. TASB is one of the most dangerous organizations out there for the education of our children, because there's so many resources there, but they're there on how to skirt around what is required by the state. What are the parents' rights? What are taxpayers' rights? And they don't give a shit. It's like looking at a pyramid, right? Where people would look at, okay, here's the superintendent at the top, and that's where he thinks he sits. But the pyramid is actually upside down. And this goes for all parts of our government. It's the people at the top. It's the people at the top, and the people and the parents and the taxpayers, they don't know their rights. People
don't understand that an ISD is its own government. Guys,
That's right.
It does not fall under the city, and it's not even really under the state necessarily. It's like their own little government right there.
The only part that you can really hold them accountable, and this takes more than just one person complaining to the Texas AG. It takes a group. That's why there's organizations like the Parents' Rights in Education that are so important, because they help shed a light on your rights as a parent and as taxpayers to say, this is how you hold them accountable for their illegal actions, which, I mean, Godly in itself just passed an absolutely ridiculous rules about during their public board meetings. And it's basically to say, hey, if we don't like what you're saying, we're going to consider you disruptive, and we're going to kick you out of the meeting. And there's 4 different levels before we, at least they have 4 different levels now before they file a trespass against a person, because they filed trespasses against people over just voicing their opinion. So basically they want people to show up at a school board meeting and let's all play nice. And we only want you to come here and get public about all the things you love about the school district. We don't want you to get public and really shed light to the board as to their rights, your concerns as a parent, your concerns as a taxpayer, your concerns as a citizen. We don't want you to do that publicly. So we're going to try and
Seems like that's
squash
opening
you.
them up to a lawsuit for 1A problems.
I think it's coming. I think Godly's going to have some serious problems with the stuff that they're trying to do. And a lot of these school districts, they do the bare minimum of what they're legally required. The bare minimum of what they're legally required to make their meetings public, to make them available to the public. So Godly could eat. Look, it's 2023, people. We're live streaming right now. This is how simple it is. It's so simple to live stream a meeting. Why aren't they live streaming their
Even
meetings?
Tiffany can figure it out.
But seriously, if you're a school district and we're in the modern age of 2023, and you want to tout how great we have of a technology department, technology school, all that. Same thing with Burleson ISD. They're not live streaming their meetings. Are you serious in 2023 that you are not live streaming your meetings? But they don't want to, because it's not required. They're going to do the bare minimum because they don't want people to see what's really happening. I'm going to give you another instance. Burleson does this, and just as I looked at Godly ISD's agenda for the meeting they had earlier this week, it's the same thing. They're under this idea of that, well, when we go into executive session, these are the reasons why we can go into executive session. And they list all of them. That's not what they're supposed to do. That's not what's legally required on an agenda. What's legally required on an agenda is to say what you are specifically going into, according to the law, into executive session. So Burleson does the same thing. They list a blanket list of all the reasons that they could be going into executive session, but they don't want to tell you exactly what they're going into executive session for. And that's wrong. And so, I learned this too from a school board member, is that after they're elected in, they're actually going to a training on how to conform as a board member. So basically, they want you guys. Yes.
I mean, but it's happening everywhere.
How to
it's happening
conform.
everywhere. Basically, here's what we want to do. Here's our expectations of you as a board member. We expect you to be in agreement with the rest of the board on all of these things that the superintendent wants.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want. They want this. They want this in every school district. Here's what the superintendent's going to present, and you guys need to get in line and you need to support it. That's what we want. And so, is that right? We elect people into these positions so that they can represent the people and the students and the taxpayers and the citizens. And then the school district is saying, here you go. This is how we want you to do this. Because
at every board I've ever been on, and I hate to say this because this is not a dig against people, but it is absolutely true. If you are a person who sounds the alarm,
asks questions,
you are not going to be on that board very long.
That's right.
Just 100% truth. Now, it's an unfortunate aspect of people, and it's a sheeple thing. I truly believe that.
Right.
Listen, the reason I ask these questions of you or anybody else, and I think most of us on this call and this stream are feel the same way. It's we have to ask the questions because we don't know what is that sound.
I think it's feedback on Tiffany's end.
Is it?
So we have to ask the question, what are we doing? Is this true? Is this 100% true? What are the reasons this could be not true? And if we don't ask those questions, and Tiffany, I think you're really good at asking those questions, sometimes to a fault. We do a disservice to our children, to the people who come after us in all ways. If you sit on a board and you just yes man everything in that freaking board meeting, you are a detriment to society, not to that board.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, and I know you say to a fault, and I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think there is no fault in asking as many questions as you possibly can. One, it's not about asking questions to trip somebody up. It's asking questions to get to the truth, which is the most important. If Superintendent Deere wants to answer these, if there's something inaccurate that's been brought to our attention, contact us and let's talk about it.
I think the board needs to fire him immediately. I mean, that would be,
I agree.
If I were sitting on that board and you did not come to me with that information and you withheld that information, you've got to go get somebody else. I'm sorry. You can't. You can't keep that man on, because what's going to end up happening, whether they do it or not, it's going to decrease the amount of people that believe in that ISD, and it's
Right.
already on the ropes.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I find it really interesting because godly ISD and let's just go with godly in general is such a beautiful, beautiful area of Johnson County. It's growing. It's going to happen, and with growth, you know, comes change, and you have to expect those things, and you have to prepare for them completely. But it's godly, right? We look at the name in itself and what it means, and you know, the posts of the beautiful sunsets and sunrises that friends of mine post, and you know, God is present and all present everywhere. But in the name itself, there's so much that comes with that screams conservative or Christian. And a lot of people move to godly, I think, with also that expectation of another, you know, getting out of the city and moving into a more wholesome countryside town. And then you have stuff like this that's being, for better lack of words, buried at first. And so that's why
letting the fox into the hen house.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, that's,
you know,
that's
if
why
it's true, right? If what is
Yeah,
being
right.
said is true, they have to make that change. If not, then they got to show why. They got to show why they're keeping him.
So I want to say this
I
because this
agree.
goes along with Jason. I want to make sure we end the show with something like this, because I think it's important to say this, because there are boat rockers in our society, and more and more they're coming out, and people are speaking up, and they're taking a stand on things, and they're using their voice to say, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. And those are the ones, like you said, if you're on a board of any sort, you tend to get exercised because of that. But I just have to say this, you know, Jesus was a boat rocker. He was not a conformist.
Well, he
Right.
wasn't worried about the boat rocking, if you recall. It says that.
Right. Not at all. Not at all. He got out there and he flipped tables, and you know,
He went Jersey.
he did. He went Jersey on people. I love that you say that. But that's the reality. This, you know, this whole idea of let's all be kind and shh. Jesus wasn't like that.
But
he was
also
kind. He just did it he just was very pointed.
definite. Yeah.
All right, guys.
He was very definite. That's right.
He's very definite.
Lord bless that superintendent up and out in the name of Jesus. How about
That's right. Be kind, everybody, and have an amazing weekend. God bless.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godly, this is the voice of Johnson County. JOCO Community Radio.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge